Lifting at the count of two, it's much ado about nothing. I'm Adam.
And I'm J-Rock.
All right. I want to talk today about characters and what makes a good character in anything. What actually got me starting to think about it was the new Metroid game. Metroid game came out today.
Oh yeah. Forgot
Well,
about that.
it's that came out. I watched some videos about some movies and stuff, and like movies that weren't good, movies that were, the characters and everything. And I was thinking, like what makes a character like someone that you want to see, that you want to learn about, whatever. Like because like in Metroid, the main character is Samus. She's a person. In the first game, you didn't realize she was a woman until the very end of the game.
Oh, that's
Even
cool.
yeah, and even like the little manual that came in the box referred to Samus as a him and he. So
Huh.
I guess in the Japanese
Sweet.
version they left it ambiguous. They never said the actual, you know, whether the character was male or female. But yeah, depending on how quickly you finish the game, you find out that she's actually female. But it's
Huh.
like it didn't diminish, like it didn't take away from anything that you just experienced. And so, like the newer
Oh,
games come out, there's not a whole lot of. I think in some of the later games there's dialogue and stuff, but like the main ones, there wasn't. Like there's not a whole lot of talking. There's a little bit of text at the very start of the game that tells you kind of about what she's doing, but other than that, there's not a lot of talking, story, whatever. And yet, it's still, a character that you're invested in, I guess.
yeah, that you're rooting
Like,
for.
yeah, like you still want to see, okay, what's she gonna do, and there's little bits here and there. You might see pictures of stuff or whatever, and just but little bits that kind of show you about her, and kind of tell you, like, kind of learn who she is, learn little quirks and you know personality stuff. So yeah, I was thinking about that, and I thought, what makes a character like that, and then on the flip side, what makes a character not unlikable, but someone you don't care about.
Yeah.
So I was thinking a few things. I'm being nerdy. I tend to drift toward video games, comic
Just a
book
little bit.
stuff, just a little bit, yeah. Um, but that's kind of where my hate to say expertise. That's where my
Yeah.
expertise lies.
Your
um,
experience.
yeah,
I
experience.
feel like
Yeah.
that's a better word because, like, I don't do a ton of video games and stuff, but
Sorry, my shirt's
so
all
mine
crooked.
is mostly like books.
Yeah, yeah. Yours is books. Like that's yeah, like video games, movies. I mean, I say comic books. It's more like the cartoons and the movies of the comic books than the actual comics themselves. I just never really, you know, got into comic books. I don't know, but I like the
Yeah.
characters. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what makes them a good character.
Yeah.
And I remember what one of the things was probably my first thing. I remember when I was in high school, I can't remember how the conversation came up in one of my classes, but we were talking about like superheroes and who everybody's favorite superhero was. And one of
Mm-hmm.
my friends said Batman, and everyone's like, "Why Batman?" They're like, he doesn't have any powers. He's like, "Yeah, exactly, but he has no weaknesses either." And so
Mm,
it's like, he
sure.
wasn't. But like breaking that down a little bit, like in an environment or in a world where he's facing off against a lot of times super powered people, people who are stronger than him. Having no weaknesses, or having no weaknesses and no powers, is kind of his weakness. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Well, that is
Yeah.
parasite. Um,
Jeez.
but you know what I mean? It's like, how's he going to beat?
Yeah.
He's not going to beat Superman. Fighting him. He's not going to
Yeah.
beat. He's not faster than the Flash. He's not stronger than Superman. So how does he keep up, basically?
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, he's not weak to kryptonite. He's not going to run faster than whatever it was that Flash ran faster than and turned into a lightning bolt.
Mhm.
I can't remember what it was. I only know that it's on the periphery of my nerd knowledge. So it's having weaknesses to me is good for a character because they're not gonna they're gonna be challenged. Whatever situation they find themselves in, they're gonna be challenged in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Like
it's going to move the plot along too.
there's that, and then it's also that it's going to, you get to see them overcome something.
Yeah.
Like it's no fun. Okay, you're more into NASCAR than I am. Who's somebody in NASCAR that won constantly? Jimmy Johnson,
No, Dale Earnhardt Jr. I
Dale
feel like
Earnhardt
would be
Jr.,
a good one.
Tony Stewart.
Um, yeah.
Okay, well let's.
Let's go. I would say the safest example I can think of because yeah, I like NASCAR, but it's been years. Would be Richard Petty.
Well, that's true. He's kind of old.
He is, but the other ones I would have to go in and like look because it's been too long. I don't know.
Okay,
And two, they
let's.
were popular. And there's a difference
Yeah,
between being winning and being good and being popular.
yeah. But it wouldn't be any fun to see the same person win every race, right?
No.
You
No,
know,
it gets old.
I'm more knowledgeable about football, but for instance, no, who wants to see Tom Brady keep winning Super Bowls?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
for a while, it's like okay, the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl like every year. Who wants to watch that? Like it gets boring after a while. Like you
Yeah.
want to see a challenge. You want to see somebody overcome something.
Yeah. I mean, with sports though, at the very least your team is winning. Like I don't know. To me, yeah, it gets boring when the one person wins all the time, but at the same time, your person won. Like, sports are a competition, they won. That's what it boils down
Well,
to.
I mean, if you're a
But,
fan of
like,
them, yeah, but
yeah, but, like, in the context of film, books, TV, yeah, it gets old. It gets so old.
well, and even in
Like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I feel like a great example of that for me would be Supernatural. After about the third time of them dying and then coming back, it the effect is just not the same. Like it gets to the point where like every time they're faced with dying, you just kind of roll your eyes and go, "Oh, here we go again." Like they're just going to
Yeah,
come back. It's no big deal and it
yeah.
completely loses all effect. And even like hardcore fans of that show, that was one of their big gripes. Is it's like how many times can we watch Sam and Dean die and then come back and die and then come back and then die and come back? Like it just gets old after a while.
Yeah, that's something I was going to say too. Like okay, like Sam and Dean, they're not they don't have the power of not dying. They're not
No.
invincible, and yet when that doesn't work as a weakness when it's basically ignored anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
One, I think it's important too to have like multiple weaknesses for a character because again, using Sam and Dean as an example, I felt like that entire show it just always came down to their big
Samus is his mom.
weakness.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm just
Sam is
kidding.
well, yeah, there's that, but more the whole their bond. Like it always came down to a demon's threatening one of the brothers. They do something heroic to save their brother. Oh my gosh, brothers. Like it that was the reoccurring thing. And again, after a while it's like okay, we get it. They love each other. Like I loved when they introduced Ruby because it spiced it up a little bit. And it was like, oh, here's this new weakness for Sam. He's in love with this demon and major weakness. What are they going to do with that? And it made it more interesting for a little bit. I don't know.
Well, I mean, weaknesses in general make something interesting because you get to see them overcome it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I
But what I'm
think that's,
saying
I
is
mean,
you want multiple weaknesses, though. You don't want to keep going back to just the
yeah,
same
and that's
one
that's
over
what I
and
mean.
over.
Yeah, and you don't want to keep overcoming that same, like that's what I was saying. Like they're weak to dying. They're not immortal. They're not invincible. And yet, if death has no effect on them, then sorry, my hair looks all weird. Hold on just a second. It looks goofy.
Okay.
That didn't help at all. If they, if you keep ignoring, if you keep, what's the word? Circumventing that weakness, then it's not a weakness. Even though they don't have the, even though they're not invincible, even though they, they can die, the fact that they don't stay dead means it's not a weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
and it's okay to have, like Batman. What's his weakness? He's human. There's nothing special about him physically. I mean, he's strong, but he's not like, he can get shot with bullets and actually get hurt, like, unlike Superman or Wonder Woman or anything like that. So, one weakness is fine as long as you're not circumventing it over and over and over, or they're not overcoming it the exact same way over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, first thing for me is, having weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And I my next one, I think we kind of talked about it, is challenges, like overcoming stuff. Did you ever see the newest Men in Black movie? The one that had Thor and Valkyrie in it?
Oh, no. No. I'm interested now, though.
Well, at least from the parts that I saw, I didn't watch the whole, like, I haven't seen the whole thing, but the parts that I did see, it's like, it's not exciting when a character isn't challenged. When a character goes in there, and especially if they have no reason, or no business automatically being good at something.
Yeah.
It's no fun to watch them just, oh, hey, here's somebody new who's never done this before. Oh, and they ace their first assignment and they automatically know these things. There's no character development there. You don't get to see them learn, you don't get to see them take, I want to see a character take past experiences and use them to beat future ones,
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you just have them automatically overcome it, it's not interesting.
Yeah. That's actually kind of like a joke within, because I read primarily young adult stuff. I don't know. I just like it. And that's like the joke is, it's like, oh, I'm a damsel in distress, and oh, here's this sword, and then I know karate all of a sudden. Oh my goodness.
What kind of book is telling you that you can learn karate from a sword?
No, like,
I know,
it's
I
like
know.
they go into a fight scene, and then all of a sudden the main character, who's supposedly clumsy and
is all of a
super
sudden not.
klutzy, yeah, and then all of a sudden she's like Black Widow, just taking everybody out, and it's like,
and
that doesn't make any sense.
And honestly, now I haven't seen the Black Widow movie. I don't really want to see it. That movie would have been good 10 years ago, but at this point, I'm not dying.
I'm excited. I want to see it.
Well, I think it's available now if you want to watch it, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't plan to see it. But anyway, it's funny you bring up Black Widow, because that's actually one of the characters I was thinking. Here's someone who doesn't get challenged. Think of in all those Marvel movies, was there ever a fight she lost, like where she got overpowered and beaten? Like the first Avengers movie, there wasn't. Yeah, she started off tied up in the chair, and then you find out she's just toying with the guys. Like she beat the heck out of all of them.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I just really like her.
And that's fine. I mean, I'm saying from a challenge perspective, like that she didn't face challenges. I don't recall, and now maybe she did, and I'm just not thinking of it. But I don't recall her ever losing a fight or ever, getting beaten by something, whether it's her circumstances. Maybe they fixed that in the Black Widow movie. But what were you gonna say?
Didn't she in Endgame?
Not really. I mean, she died. Spoiler alert.
I was trying not to, but well, it's been out long enough. You should have seen it by now.
I mean that, yeah. Uh, I highly doubt anybody's going to watch this and be like, hold on, there's these two random people in Missouri who spoiled this movie for me and sent a strongly worded email. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, dude, it's like, we already don't matter. You definitely don't matter. Yeah. You're freaking out about that.
Okay. But go off, sis.
Huh?
I said, okay, go off, sis.
I don't know what that means. You and you kids in your newfangled lingo. Oh, yeah, I'm a little out of touch, but you know, it's, yeah, she, like, I think, look at Iron Man 2. I don't know when she ever got beaten. She didn't get beaten when she was dressed up as Black Widow. She didn't get beaten at the start.
Was that the Christmas one?
No, that was Iron Man 3.
Oh, no, I don't remember what happened.
That was Adventures of Tony Stark, where Iron Man was barely in it.
Yeah, I don't remember much of 2.
Iron Man 2 is where he was dying from the metal that was in his reactor. So he had to come up with a new one.
Okay.
It had, what's the guy? It's just on Hammer. I can't remember the actor's name. He was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He was Guy on Galaxy Quest. Anyway.
Okay. I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Sam Rockwell. And also had, what's his name? He played Whiplash, but the Russian guy. He's not really Russian.
I want my bird.
Yeah, I want my bird. Yeah, that guy. That was Iron Man 2. But yeah, like, you know, she didn't really get beaten by anything in Iron Man 2. She didn't get. Yeah. I don't think anything happened in Civil War. Avengers, nothing really. And it's not like, oh, you know, you point out their flaw or something. It's, you know, okay, like for perfect example, the end of Civil War, you know, who won? Did you see Civil War?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
Okay, well, you know, Iron Man loses that fight at the end. But, you know, that didn't happen to Black Widow.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
She wound up on Iron Man's team, didn't she?
I think so.
Or was she with Captain America?
No, she was with Captain America.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because I was torn because I hate Captain America, but I love Black Widow.
See,
and then I love Iron Man, so I was like, why couldn't she have went with Iron Man? And then I could have rooted for them. But no, she had to go with Mr. All-American Reject.
All-American Rejects.
Yeah. Mr. All-American Reject for me.
I like Captain America. I mean, I don't care for his actor.
He's too goody-goody. Like,
and that's why you put him in a situation where that doesn't work. I think that's why I liked Winter Soldier, and you never saw Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he's just so, like, clean cut and blonde hair and blue eyes.
What's wrong with that?
It's just not my cup of tea. I like the dark haired, dark eyed, sassy mouthed, little bit of bad boy. Like, Tony Stark is. So
you're going solely off of looks here?
No, not solely off of looks. Like, just the whole
looks and voice, the whole package.
Yes, like
oh my goodness,
he's so goody. Okay. Like, yes, ma'am. Like,
well,
no.
Okay, but think about his backstory though. What was he? What did he want to do? He wanted to join the army. He wanted to fight in World War II.
Like, that's so boring to me. Like, oh my gosh, you're so honorable. Like, I don't know. I want a little bit of a bad boy. Like, I want him to have a smart mouth and, like, you know, do douchey things on occasion. Why do you think I married you?
I was just gonna say, so like my brother.
No, but not quite that douchey.
But like, military, dark hair, dark eyes.
I said no to the military.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'm saying is,
that was actually a deal breaker for me when I was dating. So
okay, well, but still, like, I don't know. For me, I don't see that. I don't see how that's a negative for him.
It's just
for Captain
annoying. Like
America.
he's just so good. Like, and that I think that's
Well,
something I'll get into with mine is like I want to see a little bit of because I feel like any human on Earth, like it's just human nature to have things that aren't good. Like to have flaws and to have different things that can make you not a nice person on occasion. So when I see these characters who don't have that, I immediately am like, no,
well,
no, I
and
don't
this
like
is,
you.
well, this is why you really need to watch Winter Soldier. That's why it works in that movie, because he's still that character, but it doesn't work in the environment that he's in. It actually becomes a weakness because it's like, he's always, if he's going to be the kind that's always on the good guy's side in that movie, who are the good guys? You find
I
out
don't
that the
know.
good guys that he's working for aren't really good guys. So then at that point, it's like, well, who are the good guys? You know, you want to be on the good side, but if you don't know which side is the good side, it's,
Yeah.
that
He
one, like that characteristic kind of becomes a flaw, because now it's like, you're too trusting of the people you think are good. You doubt the people you think are not. You're kind of in the dark about everything, and so that works against you in that situation.
yeah, he just has like high school jock vibes, which
There we go.
is a
Back to the.
total no-go
He
for
looks
me.
like this.
It's not even looks, it's like his like his personality. Like I just don't like it.
Okay.
But again, I that's personal preference. That's not the type of character that I relate to, root
Yeah.
for, like. Like it's just not
Well,
me.
and that's, I mean, I get that. That's why Superman's not my favorite superhero, because
Yeah.
that's Superman in a nutshell. You can't beat him. His one weakness is a rock that barely anybody has. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
super strong. He's a good guy. Fights for truth, justice, in the American way. Like that's boring. That's why when he does have a weakness, it's like, oh hey, here's an interesting thing. Here's a challenge.
Yeah.
And so that 100% good guy characteristic doesn't work for them, basically.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but I
true.
but I know but I know what you mean. Like being being a 100% good guy with like no flaws and no weaknesses is boring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of that. That's why I brought up the Men in Black movie too, because that's how the main character is. It's like,
Ah.
how do you challenge somebody who beats every challenge that they face? Like you don't get to see them overcome anything. You don't get to see any moments of, oh, here's what they're bad at. How are they going to get over something that they're bad at? You know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, did that cover what your thing that you were going to talk about, or did you have something else?
Um, so for me personally, I think a big one is I want to see a character who's very fleshed out because then even if I can't relate to them, they might still carry my interest because at the very least, it's like a whole person. Like I've read books before where you get this feeling of like I know this character, but I don't know this character. Like you can't picture them outside of the story. Like if somebody were to say, "Oh, what do you think this character would be doing, before bed?" Like what would their bedtime routine be? And you find yourself going, I don't really know.
Why do
Like
they floss and
that
then brush their teeth
doesn't
afterwards? That is weird.
Oh
I'm
my
just
god.
kidding.
No, like you get what I'm saying though, where it's like
Yeah.
I don't know their hobbies. I don't know. Like they're just very flat. Like I felt
When
like trying to think of a good example of that for me. Oh, see, you already listed the one.
Who's that?
I feel like Bella Swan is a
Oh, Bella
good one for
sucks.
that. Like outside of Edward and her mom, like what hobbies did she have? What music did she like?
Whatever is
Her
on in that truck.
character, yeah, like exactly. Like she just she was so flat as a character, which
Yeah.
made it rough. Whereas like in the series Cruel Prince by Holly Black, the female lead in that one, Jude, I couldn't relate to her, but she was super fleshed out and super interesting as a character, so it made me root for her. And again, it was interesting because I do feel like, especially with women, I feel like a lot of times women in literature, they're not like it's the same mold over and over and over again. And you typically don't see the like Jack Sparrow type character in a
Sexist.
female.
Yeah. No, I
Not
know it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just I'm not saying authors mean to do that. I think it just sometimes just kind of happens. But this particular character was kind of the exception for that to me, and she was very manipulative and sneaky, and she knew it and she acknowledged it. So it was one of those things where it was like, this isn't a cute characteristic, but it's interesting and she's keeping my interest because I don't see it very often.
Yeah.
So
Well,
she was just very two-dimensional, which sucked me in. And it was like, I can't relate to you, but I'm in. I'm rooting for you.
I mean, if somebody's usually, let me back up. Two dimensional is usually an insult, or one dimensional.
Oh.
Like the fewer dimensions, that means that's like the fewer like aspects they have, or the fewer characteristics they have. You know,
Oh, okay.
you know, like one dimensional is bad. Like, but I know what you mean. You want a character who is fleshed out, and I think it's important, even if even if they're not human, even if they're not in, if the story doesn't take place in this world, you still want to find something you connect to as a person.
Yeah.
Like and that, you say fleshed out, you say, but then, what were the things you brought up? Their hobbies, their routines. Those are things that we have. Does that need to exist in a world of fairies and dragons and princesses? Probably not.
No.
But if it does, then you have something to tie yourself to, even if it's not the same hobby. It's like, oh, okay, she likes to, catalog butterflies or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
like, okay, there's something she does, there's an interest she has. I also have interests. Therefore, as weak as that connection may be, it's still a connection.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it'll at least get you, at the very least, interested in more about what that character's doing, or
Yeah.
what
Well,
happens to that character.
yeah, and another example of that for me is in the series of Court of Thorns and Roses, she writes about it centers around three sisters. And
Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria.
no, no, but three sisters who start the series as humans and then through the series in an extremely traumatic way are changed over to Fae.
Please say
They
dragons.
become Fae.
Oh.
And the two of the sisters, the oldest, or no, the youngest and the middle one, like they struggle and they have some problems, but it's very again that what I feel is like the stereotypical way of writing women who are upset, where it's just not that bad. They're just kind of like, oh,
Oh,
this
woe
is
is me, waiting
horrible.
for their
Yeah, like
knight in
it's
shining
just
armor to.
not. Yeah, but then the oldest one, this author wrote the way that she dealt with trauma in a very, very, very realistic way, but in a way that doesn't get talked about a lot. Like she starts drinking, she starts sleeping around, she starts doing all of these things that are stereotypical in the books that I've
Of girls
read,
today. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
male
But
male
I mean,
behaviors. Like
yeah.
you see guys doing that,
Yeah.
and a lot of the times at least the female fans are like, oh, he's so traumatized, like let me take him home and, fix it and da da da. But it was interesting because this one, she had the same behaviors, the same sorts of things, but there were a lot of female fans who hated that character. Hated her
Yeah.
because of that. And we're like, she's so mean, she's cruel, which she was. She was. But a bunch of us were like, well, yeah, but she was traumatized. And as somebody who's been through something large and gone through trauma, I can relate. I may not have done everything that she did, but I can relate on different levels to that. And I don't get to see relating on that level very often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I think it's interesting that, well, you just said I think it's interesting. No, I got to find a different word. I find it worth delving into when, why would they get upset and say like, oh, like, did they not like that a female character behaved that way?
I don't, that's what a lot of us made the point about, is it was like you were okay with that when, so one of the males that the youngest sister was with for a little bit and then she wound up leaving, he was an abusive a-hole. Like, he came this close to laying hands on her, he was verbally abusive, and he had been through trauma of his own. Okay. So again, very similar things. And it was interesting because a lot of the women who didn't like Nesta, the female character, liked him and were okay with him. And we're like, well, we want him to have a redemption arc. But then when it came to Nesta, for whatever reason, they were like, well, but she's mean and she's cruel and she did this and she did that and she's abusive too, which is valid. She was. But it was just, it was weird. It was really weird for me to watch because I was like, they're both kind of doing the same things, but you're giving this one a pass because he's hot. Yeah,
well, I won't go into all that. I mean, I can understand that. Never mind. I won't go into that. But no, I do think it's interesting that they would get upset about a female character behaving that way. It's like, well, why can't she?
Exactly. Because it's real. Like, real women go through that.
I'm coming at it from, you hear all about, and we won't dive into this in a whole lot. If hopefully not at all. But you hear a lot about equality and things like that. It's like, well, okay, what's wrong with having a really terrible person as a female character? Like, what's wrong with that? It's like, can they be? Are you saying they can't be? I think it's fine. And here's here's perfect example. I hated this character so much, but the fact that I hate her so much means it was a good character. Did you ever watch Rugrats?
Yes.
Okay. Angelica has got to be one of the worst people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the kind of person that's like, I'm going to run her down. I don't care that she's 4 years old. I'm going to run that girl down.
Yeah. But let me backhand her, please.
But I mean, she was conniving. She was dishonest, manipulative. No one had a problem with that, though.
No.
If anything, it's like, I mean, as I got older, it's like, you know what? Sometimes you need a character like that. You need someone to be the antagonist. Like, you need that was the challenge for the rest of the babies to overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's, I don't know. I'm like, why can't a female character be that?
Yeah, well, because if you want to talk about relatability, like I said, there were so many of us that were like, we don't like her behavior. We don't condone it, but like, we've been there ourselves. Like, I lost my dad when I was 13. And yeah, I went through phases where I didn't like anybody and I had a smart mouth and I was mean, because I was dealing with my own stuff. Like, it happens. So it's nice to have those characters. And it was nice because she kind of wrapped up that series with that character and with her, I won't say resolving, but like coming to grips with and making peace with what happened to her
Mm-hmm.
and working out and giving her a redemption arc, which was really, really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. And it was nice because I feel like it gave a lot of other people who related to her hope that, like, oh, if this character who's gone through similar things that I have can get through it, then I can get through it.
Did she
Which
end
is
up?
where I think movies and things can be really powerful.
Did she end up in a house with PETA and a couple of kids? Just kidding.
No, she wound up in a house with three Illyrian warriors and her siblings.
Yeah, those words mean something to me. Um, I don't know anything
Men with
about
wings. They're just men with wings. That's
those
all
are
you
called
need
angels,
to know.
or
No, these are bat wings.
okay, so
Like
those
they have
are
like bat wings.
like vampires.
Well, yeah, but like in their human form, they have wings,
Yeah,
like bat
that's
wings.
okay. Okay. Um, never mind. I'm done. Yeah. Um, yeah. No, it's, and I mean, yeah. Was she written like an antagonist, or was she just like a jerk
And
character?
no, she was a jerk character for the first two books.
Okay.
And then the third one, she was like the main character.
Oh, okay. So,
So,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing. I mean, yeah. I have no problem with a female character being that character. In fact,
no.
there should probably be more of them, if anything. Like,
Yeah. Like,
don't
we're all
don't
human.
yeah, exactly. And and that's where you take all of, you bring it all back to having a connection with that person. You're not necessarily going to connect with a villain or someone who is a jerk, but if they show
Yeah.
characteristics of somebody that or something that you've experienced or something else that the people already come with a lot of what's the word? I watched a thing, I can't remember, it was a long time ago, but
Baggage.
basically, I was going to say like preloaded information, like association.
Oh,
Perfect example,
yeah.
what we just talked about when you said they've got wings. I said, oh, like an angel. And you said, no,
Yeah.
bat wings. No, like, oh, like a vampire. I'm already loaded with, okay, if a person has wings, they're an angel. If a person has bat wings, they're a vampire. So
Yeah.
that's where that comes from. So, people already come with that. It's, what was I going to say? It's okay to tap into that every once in a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't always just have to be, like a bully, for instance, doesn't always just have to be some kid with a buzz cut and freckles and brown hair and a tooth sticking out the side,
Yeah.
threatening to take your lunch money. That's, but you can tap into the things that are the other experiences that other people have had.
Yeah.
And be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I get this character, or I hate this character because I knew this character.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's why a lot of people hated Tamlin, the first love interest, because they had been through abusive relationships. So
Yeah,
they
and
were like,
it's
"Ugh,
well,
I've seen this."
and a lot of the time you want to get what you want. You were talking about a flat character. Bella is a flat character in Twilight. You want some kind of emotional response. You want somebody to make a connection, even if it's a bad emotional connection.
Yeah.
Like if they react like, oh, I can't stand the person, like me with Angelica. It's still a good character because it was that strong of a response. It's the whole thing with no publicity is bad publicity. No or any publicity is good publicity. Any kind of connection is a good connection. Man, I
Yeah.
really butchered that publicity thing. I'm a
Yeah,
full
no,
fob there.
it's like the villain in Black Panther. I think part of what made
Killmonger?
him so scary is the fact that he didn't go about it the right way, but you found yourself going like, oh,
Well, you
he
can see
kind
where
of
he
has
came
some
from.
valid point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I on some level I can understand him,
Well,
which to me makes him all the scarier.
I don't think it makes him scarier, but it makes him understandable.
Yeah, I guess
Especially
it makes him.
considering his like his circumstances.
Hmm.
You know, but I mean, and on the plus side, I mean, later on he learned how to box from Rocky, so I just kidding. he he was in the Creed movies. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's it's also good when, I mean, you don't have to root for the villain necessarily,
No.
but being able to understand is, makes them there's a lot of work that can do, for making that connection without actually having to put the effort into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're going to play off of, oh yeah, I get it. I understand the circumstances. I understand why he'd want to do this. You don't have to write that into the script. You don't have to have your actors act that out. You don't have to, none of that. It's just already there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think my last one that I have on my list
And then
is,
I've got one more too.
okay. Do you want to do your last one?
That's up to you. I'm good either way.
Okay. My last one, since we were already talking about Bella, I had her on here already. I like a character that doesn't just let something happen to them. They're active in their own lives. I don't
Yeah.
like characters who are like bystanders in their own story, basically, if you know what I mean, or if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because that's how I felt about Bella. Like, now, granted, I only got like 3 chapters into Twilight before I stopped because I didn't care enough, and it's hard to imagine the book, and then I already knew what the characters who played them in the movies. I'm like, this girl does not sound like the girl that's in the movie, all that stuff. But like in the movies, like, what did she do anything?
No.
Things
No.
just happened to her.
Well, okay. The only thing she did just made everything worse.
Jump off a cliff.
Yeah, jumping off a cliff, going to a ballet studio alone at night, knowing there was somebody probably waiting for her.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like everything that she went, I'm gonna do this and take charge, it was like, why that? Like, of all the things you could have chosen, why that?
And I mean, when she did act, it was, that's where you get your one-dimensional character. What was her whole concern the whole time?
Edward.
Yeah, oh, I love Edward
And
so
her
much.
mom.
Yeah, I guess her mom. I mean,
Which, that was a whole other weird, creepy thing.
was that more in the books?
Yeah, like, and she
Oh,
was just so, like, she treated her mom like a baby. It was one of those weird reverse things where it was like she was actually the mom, but the mom acted more like a teenager.
oh, so like Freaky Friday?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
pretty much.
I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, I don't like, things just happen to her through. I mean, again, I can only reference the movies. I didn't care enough to read the books, not all the way through anyway. But things just happen to her. I don't want to watch a character where things just happen to them.
Yeah.
It's because and it kind of ties back to everything. You don't get to see them develop. You don't get to see why they react a certain way, if they react a
Yeah.
certain way. Did they recall whatever information that would have helped, from before that's going to help them now?
Yeah.
If they're just kind of standing there and, things are happening all around them, it's like, you're furniture at that point.
If you couldn't take the Myers-Briggs personality test for them, they're not fleshed out enough.
If you took the Myers-Briggs personality test and it came back blank, that's oh, you're a passive,
You are an alien.
yeah. When you look up wallflower in a dictionary, you'll find you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other like main or like really common ones that are like that. Like, I know you use like the damsel in distress trope,
Yeah.
and that's why those people can't be main characters in a story.
Yeah.
It's it gives the other characters an objective. You know, it gives them, there's that challenge, there's that direction that they need to progress and grow.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it doesn't make them, it doesn't make you want to like take an interest in them.
Yeah.
I've noticed more, you know, again, I'm a nerd, you know, video game nerd more than anything. In the Zelda games, that's kind of how it was. Zelda was always, that's what she was for the first three, definitely through the Super Nintendo. Yeah. So like the first like three major Zelda games, I don't know. I don't think I don't think she was in the Game Boy game. But that's all she was. You know, you rescued her. First game, you rescued her from Ganon. Second game, she got put to sleep, and you had to put some gems and some statues to make her wake up. It doesn't make any sense, but and then the third one, she got captured at the very start. You freed her, she gets captured again, and then you basically don't see her until the very end of the game.
Yeah.
But she didn't do anything. Later games, like Ocarina of Time, and you find out later, again, spoiler for the nerd who cares that we're spoiling it, go Ocarina yourself. But she comes off as a fairly passive character. Like there's plot points that are kind of driven by her, and then halfway through the game, you get introduced to a different character who actually turns out to be her in disguise. But they drive a lot of the story. You know, she's not sent. Although, ironically, at the end, you end up having to rescue her from Ganon again. She gets captured. All that stuff. My favorite one, though, was in Wind Waker. When you fight Ganon at the end, she actually helps you fight him. She takes your bow and arrow, and you've got to reflect off your shield while she shoots at you to hit him so he can't block it. So it was really cool. But it was cool that, she's more taking a much more active role. Although even in that one, you had to save her because she got captured. So
yeah,
but she's also at the same time, she's not the main character.
Yeah,
so which is fine. You know.
Well, and you can write. I feel like you could write a passive main character, but then you have to give them other things to make up for that. So like in The Cruel Prince, she's got a twin sister who's more passive and kind of the stereotypical like damsel in distress. But you find out through the series, she's actually incredibly smart and cunning. So something winds up happening, and it basically turns into she's kind of the brains of the operation, and Jude is more of the bronze of it. So she wrote a passive character that you wind up rooting for because...
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Such a poop. No, but she was a passive character, but you wound up liking her because she had other things. She didn't have to charge into a fight in order to be interesting because she had other things
and that's going on. And that's fine. I mean, you can be... When I say, like, active, they don't have to be at the forefront necessarily.
Right.
What I don't like is when you are at the forefront and you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really didn't like about Hunger Games. She was what all did she do?
I'll be honest, it has been so long since I read those and watched the movies, I don't remember.
Well, okay, like I mean, I know she did stuff, but okay, like look at in the second one. The one where she has to go back. And the map is like a clock. That, do you remember that?
Yeah, faintly, yeah.
Okay, like when she's in there, she's not really, there's no taking charge. There's no...
Yeah. She kind of piggybacks off of everybody else. Like, her reactions are determined by what everybody else does.
Exactly. And I get, okay, you find out at the end she's being kept in the dark intentionally, and that there's other people driving the story. But that was sudden.
What?
But
they're staring. I didn't think he would actually do it.
Oh.
Like, he's been sitting there eyeballing me.
Yeah,
for a little
he
bit.
probably wants
I
to go to
didn't think
bed.
he would do it though. Oh, he
He probably
totally
wants to go to
does.
bed. We're almost done.
Poor Nibby. Now he's all curled
But
up pouting.
well,
Poor guy.
he's a cat.
All
He'll
right.
get over it.
Yeah.
But no, like I'm trying to think in the first one, she did a lot of running away.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm trying to think of all the people she encountered. Okay, yeah, she killed the guy that killed Rue.
Oh yeah, she did.
She knocked the what were those things called? The Jabberwocky things, the Hornets or whatever they were. That made
Oh yeah, yeah.
people hallucinate. Yeah, she hit some people with that. But other than that, I mean, like it was constantly stuff happening around her and not her. She's a victim of her circumstances.
Yeah.
And I
There's
get
never
people,
any
and I get people.
like, oh, I want to do this.
Yeah, and I get people that's gonna happen to people sometimes, but it was like that was the whole thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Even at the end, like the one big thing she does at the end is she shoots coin instead of what's his name, Donald Sutherland's character.
I don't know.
That the main bad guy. Why I can't think of his name for some reason.
Oh, Snow?
Yeah, Snow.
Okay.
It's like, okay, yeah, she did that, and that was the thing. But even then, it was she's put there, by she didn't make the choice to be in that situation in the first place. She was put there. And I mean, I know they have like narrative reasons for all that stuff, but it doesn't make for a super intriguing protagonist.
Yeah.
It's like I would have rather seen the thing from somebody else's point of view, somebody who's a little more active about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like when characters just have stuff happen to them.
Yeah.
Even if they have reactions, it's like I want to see them working to make their own outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to see them make decisions.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just decisions, but I want to see them making all the choices that lead to those decisions.
Yeah.
And not just, oh, I got thrust into this. I got, I'm in love with this guy, and so that everything I do now is just based on that. Like, oh, he ran away, and now all I can do is think about him, and it's like,
yeah,
you're not taking control of your life. You're at the mercy of somebody else.
Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sending emails to his fake sister, but she's not responding.
I was just so.
It's like, I'm going with these scary guys because it helps me see him. So,
he watched me sleep from the window. How romantic!
But that's the thing. It's like she does all those things, but they're all like, you know what I mean? She's not in. Yeah. She didn't put herself in that situation. Well, I mean, yeah, it takes two to tango. But she didn't. She's not driving that situation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and honestly, I think my last one kind of ties into that a little bit. One of the things I don't like is when you can tell a choice has been made about a character and it's not the character at all. Like, the best example I can think of is it actually came out that I guess. So Raven-Symoné has been doing like a spin-off of That's So Raven for a while now. And I guess it came out that when she came out, I can't remember if she's bi or lesbian, which one she is. But when she came out, I guess the writers of the show came to her and basically said, hey, would you like to make Raven a member of the community as well?
She's going the Ellen route.
And,
So she's going the Ellen route. On Ellen's TV show. When Ellen came out, then her character came out on our TV show as well.
Well, that's what they proposed. But she came back and basically said, I appreciate the offer, And, yeah, it might help, but that's not the character.
That's
That's
not
not
so
Raven.
Raven.
Yeah. That's not so Raven. But yeah, like that's not the character. That's not
Mm-hmm.
her, and I love her as she is. So I would like to keep playing her as she is. I don't want to do that. And
Mm.
to me, I was really impressed with that because I'm like, I feel like as a reader, a watcher, a player, whatever it may be, we can, if the character's good enough, you can tell when something's been put in that's not the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's probably my biggest critique of Sarah J. Maas's writing is through the books, you can see where she's taken things that her readers have said they would like to see and just put them in there for the sake of putting them in there.
Fan service.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
just doesn't you find yourself going, this isn't this character. Like they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't say that, and it really screws with the character and makes them feel off. Like I don't know, is there
Makes them feel less relatable because normal people don't
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, less relatable. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it would be the equivalent of like your best friend of 20 years all of a sudden changing an aspect of their personality one day and you're like, "Wait, huh? Like
Mm-hmm.
what happened there?" Like I don't know if
Yeah.
you have any examples of that.
Um, of characters who acted out of character.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, I know there's plenty of them. Like I didn't see the Last Jedi because I didn't see the Last Jedi because a coworker told me not to see it. He said it's terrible. But apparently that's what happened to Luke.
Ah.
Is he's supposed to be this super powerful Jedi, blah blah blah, and then he just kind of like I guess his behavior in that movie was way out of character for him, as was established in the original three movies. So it's and like for what reason it's one of those things then you start getting into speculation like was this just because the studio said that, was it because or like in a book because the
Mhm.
fans wanted it, was it
Yeah.
because well we need to get this person out of here so we can start promoting such and such instead,
Mhm.
or was the writer just out of ideas and decided well let's
Cuz
throw a
it
dragon into the
pulls
mix and see what happens. What?
Yeah, it pulls you out of that like world that you kind I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we all when we're playing, reading, watching something, we kind of get lost in that world and we're immersed in it and we're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every time that's happened with me, it just kind of like pulls me out of that and then I'm
And
not as invested in it.
and I get that there's gonna be some of that when your story is reaching a bunch of people. Everybody's gonna
Hmm.
kind of craft their own. Okay, like for Harry Potter, I'm sure everybody had their own ideas of what all the characters look like, and then when you see the movies, it's like, well, that doesn't, that's not how I imagine so and so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could be for anything, but at the same time, there is some consistency that has to be had, especially if it's something that's been like if there's an aspect of the character in the story that's like, oh, okay, this person behaves this way, and
Hmm.
then they stop doing that, or
Yeah.
they're like a brave character, and all of a sudden something scares them. It's like they haven't been scared by anything yet, and now
Yeah,
all
like
of a sudden
if
they're. Go ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say, like, if Hermione had gone from being super studious and into her studies in one book, and then the next book, all of a sudden she doesn't care, like,
Yeah,
that would have been weird.
yeah. And I mean, and I know you can, sometimes you can explain away certain things, but it's like it doesn't make it a good. It doesn't. I'd say it doesn't make it a good character. It doesn't do anything to strengthen the character.
No.
You know, there's that's kind of what makes them a character. When you take that away, or you weaken it, or you outright change it, it's it it defamiliarizes the reader, watcher, whatever, with that character to some degree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wish I had a good example of that.
I know, it's easier for me because I feel like it's easier to see those changes in books.
Yeah,
Like it's very, very obvious
yeah,
when it's happened.
yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I can't think of one, and it really bothered me too. Man, I gotta say, I really hated Iron Man 3.
That was the
But
Christmas one,
yeah, that was the
right?
Christmas one.
Yeah, that was a
Well, and
mess.
that, there's a perfect example of one. You know, what was one of his big problems in that movie?
I don't remember.
He kept having panic attacks. He was worried about,
Oh
Thanos and
yeah.
everything. He got scared. I'm like, this is a guy who already almost died in a cave. Already almost died from the thing that was trying to save him. Fought
Yeah.
off a bunch of aliens and Avengers. And then all of a sudden, oh, now that I went up to space and blew up a nuke to save the world, now I'm scared. It's like
Yeah, it was a
you're not
weird.
going to face anything at that point that you haven't already. If you weren't scared before, you're not going to be scared now.
Yeah,
And
well, and
yet
it
he
was
was.
very, yeah, it was very sudden because I feel like they may have been trying to make a point about like
Depression.
mental health.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
which,
mental
well,
depression.
and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's like that's not, it doesn't flow naturally for the character. It's not something that
Yeah.
developed,
Hmm.
based on their experiences. If anything, that's what I mean. It's like his experience should have been, okay, I've saved the world. Sorry, there's a cat climbing on a desk over here. I've saved the world. I fought off aliens and monsters and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Now I'm scared after I succeeded.
Yeah.
That makes zero sense.
The
You know.
If we're gonna do that, like he should have had major PTSD after all of like the first movie.
Yeah,
Like,
he should have had that problem at the start, and then
yeah,
have him
that.
overcome it throughout the movies. If you're gonna, focus on or make it a plot point or whatever, have him, have it come up throughout the movies, but not in the
Mhm.
third one where we've already established his character at that point.
Yeah, it's too. They should have like left little bits through, like you were talking about, through each movie that are indicating like, oh, he might be like bottling things up,
Yeah,
and it's gonna
exactly.
come to a head
Yeah,
down the road instead of just
I mean, worst case,
boom, panic attacks.
have him have a panic attack during Avengers. If he's
Yeah.
really that worried about it. And then if you bring it up again, it's like, okay, yeah, well, he had that problem in the last one. So,
Hmm.
it makes sense that he still hasn't gotten over it. That's going to happen to some people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't introduce the problem after they've already, you know, it's like, somebody who knows multiplication and then all of a sudden they don't know how to add. It's like, that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. It's just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a different step of addition, basically.
Yeah. It comes off as it was like a we need to spice this up or do something here. We'll just throw this in and see, make it work.
That's why I was saying you start coming up with your own ideas of why do they do this? Was it requested by the studio? Did Robert
Hmm.
Downey Jr. just not want to wear the stuff for the costume to be added on?
Hmm.
Was he tired of his face getting covered up? Were they
Hmm.
planning to write him off and it just kind of,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
then you're sitting in the movie theater thinking of all of that instead of enjoying
were the other
the
franchises,
movie.
were the other Disney franchises like upset about it? And then it's like, well, let's make him unlikable so people don't like him as much anymore.
Yeah.
Bring him down compared to everybody else. Like that. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know what the reason was. I chalk it up just to crappy writing because the movie kind of sucked in general.
Yeah.
Um,
That was
that, but,
weird.
but that's what I mean. It's one of those times where it's like, that's out of character for someone like that has already has an established story.
Hmm.
Even if you don't know
Yeah.
the comics, you've seen Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and Avengers. Now, 4 movies in, oh, now he's got a problem.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, if that problem's not tied to one of the ones we've already seen before, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well,
You
and
know?
that's it. It happened in one of my book series, the Court of Thorns and Roses one, where at the at the end of the third book, a character just like randomly comes out, and
This seems to happen a lot in your media consumption, doesn't it?
Well, not really. It's this one specific series, and like you can tell, there's just certain writers that do that a lot.
Gotta score
But
those
this
points.
particular one, like even people within that community were like, this was rather sudden. Like there wasn't any cute. I don't know. Like it was just weird. Like it didn't feel quite right type thing, you know? Like it was just done very poorly. What?
Sorry, when you're like, it's really weird. Like, oh, okay, so coming out is weird. I got you.
No,
I know.
the
I'm
way
just,
it
I'm
was
just, I'm just
done.
messing. I'm just messing with you. No, no, I know what you mean. It's like if it doesn't seem like it's happening naturally, especially if there's already been something established previously that contradicts it. Then and
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case here, but
No, I mean, it was it was basically there's a guy that really likes her and she won't give him the time of day. And it's implied that she's sleeping around with other men and stuff. And like she knows this guy likes her, but she just like won't acknowledge him, won't tell him no, I'm not interested, like nothing. Just ignores him and like all this stuff that's just I don't know, it's just kind of weird. To me it's just she's a coward and isn't interested in him and won't say anything. And then boom at the end of the book, she's just like, "Oh, by the way, I'm bisexual." Like I don't know. I feel like it was just very poorly written. Cuz it was
that
those things where it's like you could sit there and go, "Well, I mean, technically, yeah, you know, maybe she just didn't want to tell him she was bi." But even that was kind of flimsy because it's like you didn't have to tell him you were bi. All you had to say is I'm not interested and quit stringing him along. Like that was all that needed to happen. Your sexuality didn't even need to come into it, you know?
yeah,
Like it was just poorly done in my opinion.
yeah. Well, we're past an hour. We better wrap this up.
Okay.
What'd you learn today?
I learned that you are a very plot focused person.
Okay.
What did
I
you learn?
I learned that. Never mind. I probably shouldn't say that.
Oh no.
No, we won't go there. No, no, nobody wants my opinion on that stuff. I was gonna say I learned there's a lot of. Well, no, I could say this. I think this is a fair critique. I learned that apparently a lot of authors, writers, whatever, lean on sexuality too much to drive
Yeah,
character development stories. It's
I would
like
agree with that. Yeah.
that's not the only thing in the world. Like there's more happening to people than just that.
Yeah.
It's it's to the point where it's like it's a trope almost.
Yeah. Well, and
Where
that's like my main critique of a couple of my favorite, honestly, my favorite authors because I like the way they write. You know, I love their characters,
but they lean
but
pretty hard on that. It's like, oh,
I
we can do this to spice it up. It's like, you know, the
it
salt
just
and
gets
pepper gets a little.
old.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes you need to find the Creole seasoning in your cabinet, and not just the salt and pepper.
Well, and
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
like yeah, and I don't sometimes I just like the like sweet scenes where you're just like, "Aw, like that was sweet." You know? I don't
But that,
need,
yeah, and
you
that's what I
know.
mean. It's like those are like characteristics or events that can happen that can develop your character. You
Mhm.
know, but if you don't, you know, if you're leaning on like, oh, this character's bi, this character's gay, this character's whatever. It's like, okay, when everybody does it, it's night. It's coloring. It's a paint by numbers thing at that point. It's
Yeah,
like,
well,
did
and
you include your character coming out in this book? If not,
yeah.
then you didn't finish your. It's like that's not how story writing works.
It
You know,
reduces a person down to just their
exactly,
sexuality, which I'm like,
exactly.
there's so much more to people than that. Like
Well,
and two, I
not
don't know
not
when we
a,
got to a point in society where we care so much about what goes on in other people's bedrooms.
I was gonna
Like
say it,
I don't need to know. Like I don't need to know.
and that's why I don't really watch or read much of anything anymore.
It's
So,
true.
anyway,
You don't.
all right. Uh, in the essence of respecting essay writing rules, where you don't introduce new information in your conclusion, I think it's a good place to stop. We can always come back
Yeah,
and address that stuff another time. But
yeah, no, it's
anyway,
good.
thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with us.
Like and subscribe.
Sure. I'm not gonna shill for myself.
I'm not even sure I pointed the right way.
I'm not gonna shill for myself. I'm just gonna put my name at the bottom of the screen for the last hour
Yeah.
and 10 minutes. So, all right. See you next time.
Bye.